Yes, so what's love got to do with? Today we join us as we discuss what love has got to do with. Hello and welcome to another episode of African Women Empowerment Network. It's truly a privilege to be here as we dive into a critical conversation: domestic abuse, the silent killer that's now killing loudly. Before we begin, let us know in the comments where you're joining us from today. We'd love to hear from you. I'm your host, Catherine Jenga, your domestic abuse advocate, counselor, and founder of Amani Women's Empowerment and Support Organization. At Amani, we provide culturally sensitive support to survivors of abuse, recognizing that abuse affects women differently depending on their background, immigration status, and community pressures. Joining me today is an extraordinary guest, an incredible woman, Angela Cook, a world-renowned psychologist, best-selling author, and founder of Raising Remarkable Teenagers. Angela helps parents raise highly effective teenagers without losing their minds. And today she's bringing us her expertise on the psychological impact of abuse, breaking free, and rebuilding a strong future. Angela, welcome.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'm so delighted to be having this conversation. So a very timely conversation with you. And I am so grateful, so grateful, because I know, Catherine, you've been called for a time as this, so that you and all the ladies that are going to be listening can re-know their value. So we can renew and reclaim our value as daughters of the Most High God.
As daughters of the Most High God, yes.
Yeah. And then be able to, to represent our Father as valuable human and women. And I am so delighted to be part of your team, to be honest.
Thank you, Angie. I appreciate you accepting my invitation as we have this important discussion. Angela, welcome. Once again, our audience, let us know where you're joining us from, and send us your questions. We can take questions and answer some questions. So, Angela, before we dive into today's discussion, let's take a moment to acknowledge why this conversation is critical, and let's talk about some stats and facts. So the reality of domestic abuse is that 1 in 4 women or 1 in 6 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime. And 2 women are killed every week in England and Wales by a partner or ex-partner. You just told me about a lady who got shot in a pub yesterday.
Valentine's Day.
Yesterday. Yeah, on Valentine's Day. Right. 90% of domestic abuse victims experience coercive control before physical violence, and 750,000 children witness domestic abuse every year in the UK and, of course, worldwide as well. Abuse survivors are 3 times more likely to develop mental health disorders such as PTSD, anxiety, and depression. That is why this conversation is crucial. We are here to break the silence, challenge harmful norms, and empower survivors with the knowledge and support they need. Welcome once again, our guests, and welcome, Angela. So we are going to start by understanding domestic abuse and the red flags. Angela, can you please break down the different forms of types of domestic abuse and why emotional and financial control can be just as damaging as physical violence?
Wow, such a great question to start with. A lot of people know and think of domestic abuse as just the physical, when someone beats you blue black or you're bleeding, something like that. But like you said, there is obviously financial, there is emotional. I just want to go through a number of domestic abuse, and I tend to classify them in terms of psychological. That means
Mm-hmm.
emotional, mental.
Right?
How, yeah, that one. And then we have obviously the sexual abuse, and we'll go through that as
Mm-hmm.
well. We have financial
Yeah.
abuse, and then we have physical abuse, and then we have harassment and stalking, right?
Okay.
and and then what the what the people in this the expert in this field are doing, we're also including the immigration
Yes.
the immigration abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that one, they're still in negotiation whether it should be given its own, because it's so rife and it's so serious. And then I can tell you all of these types of abuses can also be taken online. So it could be that this physical, verbal, sexual, financial, psychological is not happening in person. It could also be happening online. So we will talk
Ah,
about,
yes.
yeah, we will talk
Right.
about as we go through this. But I like to describe domestic abuse as anything, any behavior directed towards you that
Okay.
restricts that restricts your freedom to fully express who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that. So sometimes we are saying, I'm not sure that I'm being abused. Ask yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is what's happening to me restricting my freedom of expression as the person,
Mm-hmm.
right? And is it affecting how I spend my money, what I earn, how I save, where I work? That's financial abuse. Sexual abuse. You're asking yourself, am I being made to do things that I don't want to do? Or am I
Mm-hmm.
being or am I being demeaned, being made to feel less of a
There
person
is an
because I
ex.
don't look a certain way? Then
Mm-hmm.
think of it, any behavior directed towards you that restricts your freedom to fully express who you are.
That is true. And I like what you said. Any behavior that restricts to who you are, and also it's not just online, because some of this abuse also happens online. Because I am aware of someone who experienced sexual abuse online. And thank you very much, Angela, for bringing up to date. And the immigration one, yes, that needs to really be recognized, because that's something that's really, really, really rampant at the moment, or women experience that. Right. So, Angela, thank you so much for describing the different forms and defining what abuse is. I'm aware that recognizing red flags in an abusive relationship can be life saving, as we just discussed. Abuse is not always physical, it can often start with subtle signs of control and coercion. What are some of the red flags someone might be in an abusive relationship needs to look out for?
As you said, and I can say from on both a professional level and even a personal level, it never hardly ever starts physical. It starts from coercion, control, because at the very root of domestic abuse is power and
Mm-hmm.
control. So
Yeah.
there is subtle signs, such as you are, for example, you're going out somewhere, you're coming out, you want to go somewhere, and this person's mentions that you're not wearing what they think is ideal for you. They haven't even told you that it doesn't look nice. They'll probably say, I think it's sluts that wear that kind of outfit that you're wearing. And which one of us women wants to be regarded as a slut? None of us want to be regarded as a slut, especially if you're in a relationship. So you feel, oh, for the sake of pleasing this person, I'm going to change this, right? They haven't even told you to go and change. But that suggestion that you should be doing something contrary to what you had chosen, that is, it's just one of the red flags. It could be it's anything that they're demeaning you. Instead of praising you as a person and affirming you, they're cutting you down. It could even be something, for example, let me give you a very unlikely, a lot of women will not think of this as financial abuse. You come with news that, oh, I got this promotion and I'm thinking of doing things and all that. And then they'll be like, oh, did you sleep with the boss to get that job? Or it could even be, it's very hard to have such a relationship with a woman who does such kind of jobs. Remember when we were describing domestic abuse? It's any behavior towards you that restricts your freedom to express, your freedom to advance. So it's those little things you're being made not to advance as a person. And that makes us as women, and it could also be men, begin to question yourself, like, am I making good decisions? It makes you begin to question yourself, double guessing yourself. You start thinking, maybe actually I can't make such big decisions for myself. And then slowly, as your confidence is chipped, you end up being a shell. Now, a lot of women, especially women who are strong-willed and we are go-getters, we want to advance. Once in a while, you raise your head and say, oh no, I don't think this is right.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when you begin to do that, now they bring reinforcement. So it starts subtle, and then by the time someone is hitting you to death, it's because they feel they have lost control over you.
Right.
It's very sad. I mean, I can feel the mood dropping for everyone. And even I felt myself, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
A lot of women will ask ourselves, how did I get to this? You look back and you're like, God, how did I get to this? It's because slowly, our confidence was chipped. It's called head working. You begin to think, actually, I cannot make decisions. You're told you're disorganized, right? These things, for example, again, financial abuse could even be you're going for work and the person punctures your car, or they take the keys and hide them. Do you see? It's anything, literally, it's anything that prevents your advancement. so that it's harming you from and then stopping you from fully expressing yourself. And it's just crazy, you know, it's a crazy thing. And I want to say it's not your fault that this happens to you. It can happen to anyone.
Yes, that's true. Domestic abuse can happen to anyone, no matter the economic status, no matter their education, no matter no anything, ethnicity as well, anything. It can happen to anyone. That's true. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Angela, I must go back to when you said about financial control. But first, let's acknowledge our guests. We acknowledge you, Nuru Balama. Thank you. She says, we are ready. Bring it on, girls. Yes, she's watching from Bedford. We also
Right.
have my aunties on. Gladys Karugia watching from US. Thank you, auntie, for showing up. And everyone else who's watching, let us know where you're watching from and send us questions. I want to say about financial control, because I know I was speaking to someone about financial control, and they said, oh, is that financial control? I didn't know there was financial control. But also, forcing them to open joint bank accounts. This is something that I've dealt with with my work. Forcing people to open joint bank accounts. Your salary goes there, but you have no control of that money. Another one could be making someone take loans in your name, and a lot of loans and lots of money, and you have to pay it back. And we have to remember, domestic abuse just doesn't happen in sexual relationships. It also happens in families, because I know some families where I've dealt with some women where they came from a family where all their pay, mom and dad dealt with it. But this mom and dad, this individual, they are in their 40s, but mom and dad are dealing with their pay, how they do, how they run their money. If the whole family is going on holiday, this individual has to pay for it. And that kind of, they pay the rent, but rather being taken advantage of. So we've said there are red flags, and Angie has said at the core of domestic abuse is power and control. So if, like she keeps saying, if somebody is taking control of your life and chipping away your confidence, and this happens, the abuser becomes bigger in their grandiose in their way of being, but you become smaller. You keep becoming smaller because they're chipping and chipping and chipping and chipping. The other ways, red flags, is they monitor your every move. Check your phone, social media, track your location. What time did you leave work? Why are you here 5 minutes later? They gaslight you, manipulate you. Like Angie is saying, you question your reality. You start thinking, am I crazy? Is this the way things are done? Yeah, so like we're saying, abuse is all we have to remember that at the core of it is control, power, and control. Right. Angie, let's go on. And before we dive deeper, let's talk about something crucial, the cycle of abuse. Many survivors feel trapped in their relationships because abuse doesn't happen all the time. Like you said, it follows a pattern. Maybe you can tell us what the cycle of abuse consists of.
Oh my goodness, Catherine, it's like you said, when people say, why can't someone just leave? It's because it's not happening every day. It's not happening every day. I can guarantee you there's some good days, right? And unfortunately, a lot of victims, we hang on to those good days like dear life, right? But I love the question that you have asked, because if we can let everyone know and see this cycle, then you can begin to see for yourself, oh, this is what's happening. This is what's happening, right? So you said, and rightfully so, at the core of abuse is power and control. Someone wants to take over you, either psychologically, sexually, financially, physically, they even feel it's like they own you, right? You're their property. So normally there is what we call the tension building. You know, someone is looking for a reason to attack you. So, like you said, there's gaslighting, you know, there's the accusations, and you're wondering, what is this? You know, picking, you know, they're picking something here, picking something here, picking another thing here. You know, literally jabbing at you, and you're wondering, what is it? It feels very uncomfortable, yet it's very, you can't really pinpoint what is it that you've done, but you know you're being picked on, right?
Yeah.
And then why are they doing that? So that they can vilify you psychologically. For human beings, they must make you a villain, right? So that they can attack. No one
Yeah.
in their right mind attacks a good person. So in their mind, they must make you this evil person, right? This evil person who doesn't listen to me. This evil person who wastes money, right? This evil person who is disorganized. This evil person who doesn't listen when they're told, right? And then comes the incident. So when they attack you, whichever way, whether it's verbally, when they abuse you, they have a reason. They're justified, right? So they have a justification why they are doing that. In fact, if you ask them at that point, they will tell you, oh, it's because she's wasting money. I hit her head because she's wasting money. Right? Or whatever they'll say. They must have a justification, right? So they've attacked you. After you've been attacked, whichever way, whether it's psychologically, you know, it could be something that they have said, you're useless, you know, or you'll never amount to anything, or I should never have married you. You know, all that is psychological abuse, you know. There are better women out there. You know, all sorts. Think of any abuses that you've ever had a woman been called, right? So think of all that. So that's the incident. Or it could even be they hit you.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the incident. Then usually what happens is, because they know that was not right, deep down in their heart, they know it was not right. And also, you as a woman, you're distraught.
Yeah.
So what happens is the next stage, which is called the reconciliation or the honeymoon stage.
Yep.
And this is where you hear people talking about makeup sex, right? Yeah. That's what you hear people. After that, we had this session. It was fabulous. You know, after someone damaged you, has abused you, has beaten you, but then they've given, like they're rewarding you. There's a reconciliation. There's the honeymoon, right? People, they bring flowers. They take you out. They say, oh, I'll never do anything like this. You know, this is very out of character. You know me. I could never do anything like this. And then
I only did it because you caused me to, because you made me do it.
Exactly. And they're like, honestly, if you are not that wasteful, Catherine, if you are not that wasteful, I wouldn't have done it. Yeah. Or let's say you came home. Let's say you came home at 10 o'clock. If you had not come at 10 o'clock, Catherine, I would not have done it. Right? So what's happening? They are now transferring the blame onto you. And then there's the calm period where, again, what they're doing now they're looking for justification for everything they've done. They're speaking to you like, you see, I'm not a bad person. But you see, even though I did that, I look after the children very well, right? Oh, I may have called you whatever they called you, but I provide. I'm not like other men who don't provide. So they begin to compare down. And comparing down means they're looking for the worst scenarios, like they're saying, I only hit you a little. Some women are cut on the throat, so they they're minimizing your experience. They're telling you, they're saying to you that I only pulled your hair, only a little bit came out. I know someone whose hair, all of the hair came out. So can you see? Can you see
yeah.
So there's a calm.
Yeah.
And then, unfortunately, that cycle repeats again and again and again and again and again. And the woman or the person, let's say, we are using the woman as more generic, really. It could be a man as well. Yeah, but we know that domestic violence is so heavily sided on gender on gender we know that, right?
Yeah.
So it happens over and over again. And so when you ask a woman, why don't you leave? It's because most of us are hanging on to this good person. That shows up for us. And they do show up. Yeah. And they do show up for us. But we hang on to that. But I hope organizations like yours, Catherine, Amani Women's Organization, I know that you're able to help women to actually understand I don't have to be walking on eggshells so that I can be loved for that one day.
Yeah.
You help women realize, actually, I don't have to have great makeup sets after I've been beaten. It doesn't have to be that way. I cannot not be beaten to have that. It doesn't have to be, do you see? Or flowers. I can be brought for flowers today, not because yesterday I was beaten. You see?
Yes.
And there is support. I like women to know, ladies, if you don't do anything or you don't remember anything we say today, I want you to remember that organizations like the one Catherine has here supports women, and especially as ethnic minority women who have hang-ups of reporting these cases. So don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to do that. And it's I could say it's a bit easier today because 20 years ago, maybe the only contact you'd have had is either you call the police or Women's Aid. But now we have lots of people actually saying, come to the side, sister. Let's talk. It doesn't have to be like this. Because if you allow yourself to be treated like this, you're going to lose yourself literally or even actually, because we know some women are killed, right? And then even worse is that what are you demonstrating to your children? What are you showing them? You're saying to them, oh, it's okay to be abused. I know it's getting ladies.
Yes, it's no, but we are here for the conversation. Our audience, thank you for joining us. Let's continue. Let me just acknowledge a few more people who've joined us. Sorry, my phone is misbehaving. Somebody has sent a question, Angie, which I'll let you hold on to. I don't know how this looks like, but the individual has asked, what do you say to those who are drawn to the drama? You know,
Those who are
so I'll
drawn
let
to
you
the
hold on to that. Those
okay.
who are drawn to the drama, but I want to
And
acknowledge.
just as we hold on to that, I
Yeah.
want the person that that asked that question to think drama, trauma. Drama.
Drama, trauma.
Yeah. Drama, trauma.
Yeah.
But hold
It's
on to that.
actually John. It's actually John who has asked, what do you say to those who are drawn to the drama? So, Mr. Jenga, here, this drama, trauma. Right. So, let me just acknowledge a few more of our audience. Susan Nyame, thank you for joining us. Gladys Karugia says, thank you for raising this issue. It's a slow killer. For real, it is. Janet Baker says, hi, bestie, good discussion. Nuru Balama says, speaking of reconciliation, she knows a couple that the guy, after abusing his wife, he went and bought her a new Range Rover for her. And then he will always say, she's not sorry, she's not appreciative. Unfortunately, the abuse never stopped, even after a few years of the cycle of abuse. I also know somebody who I've had quite a few times here, Dr. Penny Njoroge, and she doesn't, it's not a secret. She's coming with, she's a counseling psychologist, and she says she was in an abusive relationship for 30 years, and every time her husband would buy her a Mercedes, a new one. I also want to acknowledge Peter Mutuma, Pastor Peter Mutuma. Thank you for joining us. Let us know where you're joining us from. I know other people are also here, but let us know where you're joining us from. We've talked about the campus. So I was going to ask you, survivors struggle with guilt and self-blame, but you've touched on it. So we're going to look at the cultural barriers now, the taboos, and the societal pressures that people endure. So having spoken to some women, this is me saying, they report being told or even felt pressured to stay in the marriage for the sake of the children, or that marriage is forever, no matter what. In Kenya, we say in Swahili, kuvumilia, you must vumilia. So I'll even go in my mother tongue, mutumia neko mireria.
Right?
So how do these beliefs harm survivors, Angela?
You are correct that is the general belief regarding marriage, regarding relationships. It's like it's for life, right? And if it's a healthy relationship, oh, girlfriend, go for it for life. It's beautiful. But
yes,
if it's harming you, don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your daughters. Don't do that to your sons. Don't do that to anyone that's observing, because our children are learning relationships from us.
Yeah.
And in fact, there is a verse, and I know a lot of people are watching from all over the place, but I like to talk about, there's a verse in the Bible that says that the parents have eaten the grapes, the sour grapes, and now their children's teeth are on edge, right? And when you think about that, what does that mean? It means whatever we don't sort now, it affects our children, and it affects them even in worse ways, right? So it's so important for us to be cycle breakers. So important for us to recognize and break that cycle, right? So you've asked about children. Oh, I'm staying for the children. If you love your children so dearly, Would you want to subject them to harm?
No.
No. Any person on a logical level will say no. However, when we stay in abusive relationships, that's exactly what we are subjecting them to. We are showing them, oh, it's okay to be devalued. It's okay to be beaten. It's okay to be verbally abused. It's okay. And what happens when they feel like that? First of all, they feel helpless because I'll tell you what, a lot of our children, especially these days, were born after the 1981 Children Convention. So they know that children should actually not be getting abused. So they're wondering, there's this dissonance. They're wondering, where is my loyalty? Is my loyalty on what I know about children's rights, or is my loyalty on my father who is abusing, or my mother who is being abused?
Yeah.
Can you see
Yeah.
the dissonance within our children? And that is very harmful.
Yeah.
I work a lot with young people, and some of the damaging, we talk about how mental health problems have gone over the roof. Why? Our children are observing terror in their homes. And this kind of dissonance is not helpful. So they're wondering, where is it safe? If I cannot be safe here in our home, where is it safe? So our children are on edge. And then we have two ways they act it out. Some of them internalize it, and some of them externalize it. Those who internalize it, they're suffering with anxiety. They're suffering with a lot of like mental health problems, depression, lack of self-worth, And then we have those ones who externalize it. You see children who are angry, They're angry. They're aggressive. Why? They've learned nowhere is safe. They're not safe.
Yeah.
Right? So, ladies and gentlemen, for our children, we know research shows us a child is more mentally stable if obviously both parents are well, having a good relationship. They're mentally stable if they are not in that situation. Like if you're fighting, if there's conflict, if there's so much conflict, your child will be way better if you're separate than if you're in the conflict.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not suggesting that it's an easy call. It is not easy. Ask anyone who has ever left an abusive relationship, including myself. We can tell you it's not easy. It's not easy. But we must think in terms of the long-term, long-term situation, right? For example, I would say I even suffered with post-traumatic stress, right? When a woman is suffering in such a way, when you're having your own mental health problems because of that, how good are you to your child?
Exactly.
There's a high correlation between women with mental health problems and their children as well, right?
Yeah.
So we are really, when we say, oh, I'm staying because of the children, no, you're not staying because of your children. You're staying because it's frightening. It's frightening for your goals for your dream not to be true. It's frightening.
or even for this this, like I would like to think that nobody goes into a marriage or a relationship for it to fail. So there's that fear of it failing as well. It's frightening. It's proper frightening. And I must add, sorry, Angela, I interjected. I keep going to Dr. Penny Njoroge because she experienced abuse for a long time. 30 years she experienced domestic abuse. And Dr. Penny Njoroge is a woman. She's a reverend. She's a minister in America and was a minister in Kenya. So she was a woman of faith, very influential, very successful in her own way, and financially doing well. And they were, for those who know Kenya, they were living in Kileleshwa. This is where she was living. But every time I have invited Dr. Njoroge to speak with us, when we talk about the impact of domestic abuse on children, she always cries. She always cries because it takes her back to what this situation, you can imagine, 30 years. So she's had the children, they've grown, their formative years, their adult years, and she always says, if she knew what she knows now, then she would not have stayed. And she also acknowledges that what you're saying is not easy. She's a woman of God. So there's all these beliefs around her and values that are conflicting in her. What do I do as a woman of faith? God says he hates divorce, But does God also say he hates divorce, but also acknowledge that he wants his daughters to be killed? Is that what he wants for us? Or does he want us to live a free life, a happy life where your children are growing also to fulfill the destinies that he has called them into, for you to fulfill what he has called you into? So I want to ask another question, Angie. How can we shift cultural norms to raise girls to understand love is not suffering? This kuvumilia thing, we must stop with it. Kuvumilia in that kind of way where you're being beaten and you're dying a soldier of domestic abuse and being another stat number. And boys as well, to respect women in relationships. How can we change these cultural norms while raising our girls and our boys?
Yeah, and that's an amazing question again, Catherine. You're fabulous at asking very empowering questions. And what I would say is, it takes courage for your own self to actually stand up and say and define what a healthy relationship is. And you must do that in your own relationship, right? Maybe it hasn't happened before, but it takes courage for you to define it and decide, this is how I'm going to be treated. Because we do actually show people how we want to be treated. Because there's an Italian proverb that says, he who lets the goat be put on the shoulders will soon carry a cow. Meaning, this bearing, you will keep bearing more and more and more will be heaped on you. Unfortunately, for some, this more and more, it might end up in death. So to go back to your question, how do we empower our girls and our boys to have healthy relationships? First of all, it starts with us, because I often tell my community that our actions speak so loud, our children can't hear us. Our actions speak so loud, our children can't hear us. So you can tell your daughter, oh, you need to get a good relationship, you need to get a health. But if all she has observed is this unhealthy relationship, she's going to gravitate towards that because that's what she knows. It's like the language you speak, like the accent, the accent I have. It's not, someone did not come and educate me on the accent. It's because I was so immersed in the people speaking like this. That's why I speak like this.
This is true. Yeah.
So that is how we subconsciously hold on to those beliefs. So what beliefs are they holding on to? Are they holding on to that? Are they holding on to, in a relationship, a man and a woman, they can be partners. Can they be communicative partners? Can they be friends? Is that what they are seeing? Is that what they are observing? Because if that's what they are observing, that's what they're going to go with. If they're observing something different, if they're observing power and control, they will learn that, oh, the only way to make someone do what I want is to control them. And what do they do in their relationships? I know girls that control their boyfriends. I know boyfriends that control their girlfriends.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way to get what you want.
Yeah.
So we have not learned healthy communication and healthy expression. Remember when I spoke about being able to freely express yourself so you can advance?
Yep.
Our children need to see us behaving as such, so that even when we tell them, we are coming from a position of inspirational authority. Yeah. Because I'll ask you a question. I'll ask you all guys a question, right? I have a daughter, she's 19 and that, yeah. So I'm with a partner, right? So this girl, she begins to be in a relationship. This relationship is toxic, is unhealthy. And then I'm saying to her, oh, I think this is toxic. This, you should leave. You know, you should. Now, that's what I'm telling her. Assuming that I have been going through the same. What authority have I got to tell her what?
No, you really don't. You
I
really don't. You really don't.
If, however, I have been in this healthy relationship and I'm saying to her, dear daughter, I noticed this and this and this and this. She is even willing to listen to me. Why? Because she trusts me. And that, my friends, that is the way we are going to change the narrative. That's the way we're going to change the narrative, even for the boys, right? The boy, if all they've known is the father says something and everyone bows down to their to their feet, right? If he gets a girlfriend who, when he barks, doesn't do anything, what is he going to do? He's going to beat the hell out of her, and that's how our young people are killing our daughters. Because they're wondering, my mom, you must be a whip, because my mom was beaten and she didn't say anything. Why are you crying for?
Yeah. Quite sad, you know.
It's really sad. And last year, I mean, I can't tell you the number of kids under 25 that were killed, Catherine, and almost every week I was like, no. And then we even have I was looking at another statistic, and I saw that about I can't remember exactly, it was 30. The number of women dying by suicide because of domestic abuse has been so high. You're pushed to a point where you feel there's no point living. Let me just go.
Yeah.
So
which is quite sad. Yeah, go on, Angela. Go ahead. Sorry.
And I love the way you gave Dr. Penny's, and I have listened to her testimonies over and over again. And I remember even her giving me strength when I felt this was it, because I was thinking of my daughter as well. the effect on our children, you can even end up those children never forgiving you for what you put them
Yeah.
through.
Yes, yes, this is true. I let me interject there. I know someone, I've worked with many, many women, and I know someone who at some point one of her struggles was her child telling her, "Mommy, you allowed this. You never left. You never left. You never left. You allowed us. You allowed us to sit there and let daddy do what he did to us." Which is quite sad. So what we are saying is, because we have faith leaders and community elders who women come to them and tell them they are experiencing domestic abuse, let's be empathetic and look at the situation from a place of compassion, and not just looking at it now and thinking like God hates divorce. Yes, he does, but he also doesn't want his daughters to be killed and a generation to get into a cycle of abuse. I know I can quote one faith leader who is her name is Kathy Kageni. I follow her, and one of the things she says is, take some time off each other, because we're not saying some people cannot change. People can change. Somebody can get awareness and work on their behaviors. But while they are doing that, take time apart. Don't be killed while you're staying there, and generations be impacted um, because you stayed in a toxic relationship, in abusive environment, and your children are experiencing this. And like we keep going to Dr. Penny, she says if she knew, don't forget, Dr. Penny is Reverend Dr. Penny. If she knew I remember very well, I've had quite a few conversations with her on this channel. And one of the things she said, that one time her husband bought her a Mercedes, and she wanted to go and throw herself down, I think the crater, the Rift Valley crater. She wanted to go and crash in there in that Mercedes that he had bought her. So these are very serious situations that we are talking about, and the impact they can have. So like you talked about, women are pushed to abuse. Suicide. There is Dr. Penny again, our lovely success
Reference.
story. Yeah.
Exactly.
So let me acknowledge our viewers, our audience. We have TPC training joining for Banbury, UK. She says, thank you for speaking to about domestic abuse. I have my sister, Ruth Mbogwa, watching from Kenya. Thank you, Ruth, for joining. We appreciate all of you. Please send us your question. Now we have 2 questions. So let's move on to the next part of this, Angela. When immigration status is used as a weapon, what would you say to abusers? No, how would you say abusers manipulate victims using their immigration status, and what options exist for women trapped in this kind of situation?
Wow. Again, like I said, you are so in touch with what's happening, Catherine, because that is something that's been, again, so many women feel, oh, if I tell anyone, that's the end of
Mhm.
me in this new country, especially, let's say, in diaspora. uh, Women, they think that's the end of. But let me drop the truth. The truth is, if you report someone abusing you, they're going to look at it as such. In fact,
Mhm.
I do know women who did not even have the correct papers to stay in the country, but after they reported that, their situation completely changed, and their situation and case is being looked at on its own. It's got nothing to do
Mhm.
with whoever brought you. The truth is, no one, no one has the right to abuse you because you're the partner, or because your name appears in their as part of their papers or their passport or
Spousal visa.
spouse or visa, right? That is an absolute no for abuse. You are still a human being. And again, like we said, look, organizations like Catherine's organization just give them a call, text them, call them. I think, Catherine, you need to drop your number there or an email or something. You might get bombarded, but it's okay because this is what we want. We want women to reclaim their power, to realize that no one should hold your breath over you because your name is under you're on a spousal visa or something like that. But I'll tell you, it even goes, this is where the head working and the mental game comes in. I know women who, years after they have even got those papers, they're still afraid because the person has been put inside of their head that if it were not for me, you would not be here. If it were not for me, you would not be here. Women, today, I want you to remember that, yes, that visa may have come through that man. However, it is the blessing of God is not dependent on a person. You would have still been given that one anyway. In God's own different and mighty ways. So no one threaten you because your name appears under them. That should never be. And no one has ever been penalized. I don't know of any cases. Of course, I don't know everything. I'll say that. But I do know cases that have gone and said, this is happening. There's so much help. There's so much support, my friends. So much is there. And let no one dim your light just because you appear under their spousal visa. That's not a reason. But it's used so much by a lot of people. And again, remember we said domestic abuse is about power and control. So they'll tell you a story, and that story, you will believe it. And once you believe that story, that is what's frightening you. They're not even telling you every day. Sometimes it could be, oh, you again, walking on eggshells. You can't even advance.
And you know, this walking on eggshells, imagine walking on eggshells every day, what it does to you. It like we're saying, most women who people who suffer domestic abuse, they become anxious, they suffer from anxiety, depression. So let me just add on to that. So in regards to the immigration status, for what I know is that there are organizations that help people. And so, like Angela said, let me put my number out there. My organization is called Amani Women's Empowerment and Support Organization. I have worked in domestic abuse for quite a while, over 7 years now. I thank God for the privilege to be in this position. So my number is 07961708808. And you can also send us an email on info@Amani Women's Organization, Empowerment Organization.org. I'll check that if that's correct. However, we can signpost you to some organizations that can help, like the Rights of Women. We know some solicitors, we can signpost you. And if you're on a spousal visa, and especially if you have children, we have case studies of women that we have helped, especially if you're on a spousal visa and you have children. Case studies of women we have supported in my line of work, send them to solicitors, and they help them apply for something called MAVDAC. It used to be called DDVC. That's the destitute. Now it's called migration destitute something, a visa where they give you for 3 months and you get benefits. You can also move to a refuge if you want to, if you want to, but mostly I would advise, especially if someone is in such a difficult situation and they have no finances, refuges, you find shelters that can help you. So they'll help you apply for the 3-month visa, and this 3 months visa so that you can get some benefits. So if somebody is telling you, if you leave me, you will not have money, this is what I'm talking about. And then within these 3 months, your solicitor will help you to apply for your indefinite leave to remain. I must say, this is when you have a spousal visa. But also, if you have children and you're still in an abusive relationships, solicitors can advise you what to do. So it's not a dead on end situation. It's not, if I leave, what do I do? What do I do? There are agencies we can signpost you to that can help you. And thank you, Angie, for saying that. Yeah, so I was going to ask, what would you ask women who are completely trapped due to their immigration status?
Oh yeah, that's
So yeah.
exactly what they do. Like you said, please, please, ladies, let no one sell you fear that you cannot make it by yourself, right? Yes, it may be that you will be helped for 3 months, but it's going to be, yes, you may be reliant on those organizations for 3 months, but after that, I know for sure, from a personal and also a professional basis, we do rise.
Yeah, that's true. And that's one thing that I normally tell the ladies when I come, who I work with. A lady will come to the shelter that I work in. They are so anxious, so low and everything, and afraid. But we hold their hands, work with them. And one of the things that I tell them, it looks bad right now. But believe you me, by the time you're leaving, you'll be smiling, because the resources are there to support people. The resources are there to help people. But you have to reach out to get the help from the resources, for the support. You have to reach out for the support. Yeah. Yeah. So Angela, let's move on. The other questions were about the impact domestic abusers. We've touched on that. We really have touched on that. So how do we break the cycle and create change? How do we change the way we talk abuse in our communities, especially in the African and the ethnic minority communities?
I would say, once again, a beautiful question, Catherine.
Thank you.
Talking like what we are doing right now, we are already dismantling this elephant, this elephant that we don't want to talk about. Some of the beliefs, especially in the African community, there's this thing of we don't tell anyone what's happening in our community. We don't tell anyone. It's so ingrained. It's so ingrained in us that even when you're suffering, you don't speak. But how helpful is it?
It's not helpful at all.
It's not helpful at all, right? It's about speaking and being authentic, right? The truth is, if we are going to rise, if we are going to rise and be better, we must be willing to let go of the shackles that are holding us back. We must be willing. And that includes, if you're being abused, putting your hands up and saying, yes, I'm being abused. This is not helpful. It's shackling me down. Speak to someone, speak to someone, speak about it. Unfortunately, again, because of our culture, there's a lot. I mean, we see them all over the place. We call them, in psychology, we call them flying monkeys. Flying monkeys are people like, if I come to Catherine and say to you, Catherine, I've got this is what's happening, right? And then the person, let's say my abuser finds out, and then maybe or let's even say that it goes into the papers or something, right? Because and I like the way we call this session, domestic abuse is a silent killer that is now killing loudly.
Killing loudly, yes.
But I am so grateful. Even the police now are saying, a lot of women used to say, "Oh, don't press charges or anything," but now the police have the right to press charges because that's a criminal offense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, but then what you will see with these flying monkeys is, which also brings a big challenge to women reporting and women talking, is that they will gang up against the victim.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will
Yeah.
gang up against the victim. You'll be told you're
Hmm.
lying, or if it's true, why didn't you leave the first time you were? If it's
Hmm.
true, oh no, that person is a big solicitor. They can't cut your ear. You know,
Hmm.
they defend the victim. They really defend the victim, and that's why one of my most favorite moments. I don't remember. You remember this lady, the French lady that I can't remember her name now, but she's one of my favorite. She's an older lady that had the husband had been sexually abusing her,
Yeah.
asking to go.
Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah.
Was it Prajay? I can't pronounce her name, but
I
most
can.
people,
I can't remember her name either. Yeah.
but we know who we are talking about, right?
Yeah.
So that woman, when she came out and she said, "I'm not going to make this private," all this being silent and private is what's making the perpetrators continue to have
Yeah.
more leverage, right? But
Hmm.
by her actually speaking, and I can tell you, when she came out, some of the family members were saying, "Oh no, don't say, we need to protect the man. We need to, you're ruining his name. They're saying it's assassination of character of the man." you know but what did she say? She said, "No, I'm going to
Hmm.
put my
Hmm.
head. It's time for us as a society to shift the shame onto the perpetrator
Hmm.
from the
Yeah.
victim, because for the longest time, the Doni, sorry guys, the shame,
That's only.
yeah, the shame
Yes.
has been on the
Hmm.
victim. How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Yeah.
But it's time for us to shift the shame from
Hmm.
the victim
Hmm.
to the perpetrator. They are the ones that
Hmm.
should be facing the law, not us suffering and having to hide. Why should I have to hide because I've been abused? The person that's been
Yeah.
abused should be the one to hide. But we've
Yeah.
got it all
Yeah.
wrong for a long time.
Yeah.
And also women, please, when a woman comes and tells you this is happening, please believe her, because
Hmm.
from even a biological and psychological basis, women are nurturers. We want to keep this thing that we started. We want it to grow.
Hmm.
We want it to do well. So when it crumbles and they come and confide with you, first of all, don't ask them to go back and get beaten to death. And
Hmm.
also, don't tell them you don't believe them. Like you
Yeah.
said, Catherine, earlier, be compassionate and
Be
support.
compassionate and non-judgmental.
Exactly. No, stop telling her, "Oh, if you maybe he's beating you because you're not cooking well, or he's beating you because
Yeah.
there's no justification for abuse.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no
Yeah.
justification." So really, what I would say is, we have to be strong. And again, I'm going to say, we are so fortunate, 2025, we have organizations
Hmm.
like yours, Catherine, that someone can
Hmm.
come and then you can support them, you can signpost them with an
Yeah.
understanding of our cultural barriers. We are not saying it's
Yeah.
easy. It's not easy. It's not easy to leave your relationship, especially in a culture where it's till death do us part. It's
Yeah.
here until death. It's the more
Yeah.
suffering. It's the more you suffer, the more you are seen as a good wife. You know that
And a strong woman.
exactly. This strong woman culture. We need to set a barrier and a boundary and say family. You know, there's this thing that say family is everything. But you
Hmm.
know what? For the last few years, I've been saying family is actually not everything.
Hmm.
Healthy family is
Oh yeah,
everything.
that's true.
Let's
Yeah.
get it
Healthy
right.
family. Yeah.
Healthy family is everything because even our children, we condition them to say family is everything. No matter what's happening to you, family is everything. No, a healthy family is everything. The question is, can you or I define what a healthy family looks like? What a healthy relationship look like? Does it look
Yeah.
like partnership? Does it
Yeah.
look like I can speak and be heard? Does it look
Hmm.
like I am valued? Does it look like I am supported to be
Hmm.
everything that I was meant to be? And
Yeah.
that's what it
Yeah.
is about.
Right. So Angie, let's acknowledge our audience once again. Thank you so much. We have Kiema Motuma. She also agrees on what you say. The blessing of God is not dependent on a person. TPC training says thank you for sharing. My lovely Auntie Gladys is saying fear, stigma of living, social judgment, guilt and shame, fear of isolation, financial concerns, impact on children. Actually, I was going to ask a question. We're going to take a quick poll, and our audience, I'm asking you, please, can you just write for answer for us? What do you think is the biggest reason victims struggle to live? Do you think it's fear, shame, like Angie is saying, family pressure, or financial dependence in the comments? Let us know what you think. And if this conversation is helping you, please share this live stream. You never know who might need this information. So, Angie, we're
Yes.
almost coming to an end, but before we do, we're not too far from coming down to an end. Let's talk about breaking the cycle and where to get help. So we've talked about a few things: types of abuse, warning signs, red flags, cycle of abuse. You've done a really good job of educating us, the cultural barriers women face, societal taboos and staying for their children, the role of faith leaders. I think we need to touch on that a little bit, but we did touch on that, how abusers manipulate survivors through immigration status, and the impact of abuse on survivors and children, where we talked about depression and children having anxiety, and maybe children also imitating what they saw in childhood. So, for example, sometimes children who have been in situations where the family there was abuse, you find that they might find themselves in abusive relationships, or they may be the perpetrators. So, what steps can someone take today if they're trapped in an abusive relationship?
The first thing, if you're listening to this, that is the first step, is first of all, you should thank yourself that you're actually
Mm-hmm.
listening to this. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say, listen and don't doubt yourself. If it's not feeling right, it is not right. So the first step is to believe yourself. You have to believe this is not right. This is not healthy,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why, again, a lot of people, when we go and tell people, oh, Jane, you should leave, until the person believes it's not right for them,
Yeah,
no one,
that's true.
no, and that's
That's
why
true.
this is the first thing. You have to believe for yourself, actually, this is not right for me. This is not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I deserve better. That's the
Mm-hmm.
first step. The second step, I would say, speak to someone. Catherine has
Mm-hmm.
given you their number, and then
Yeah.
when you speak to someone, if it's still, because sometimes it can be, you're so clouded, speak to someone, and then they will guide you to someone who can actually, for your situation, for whatever situation you're in, they will signpost you. Maybe you'll help them, as you're a counselor, Catherine, I know that. So maybe
Yes, I
you
am.
will
Yeah.
help them directly, or you will signpost them to
Yes,
another
yes.
person who can help them, right? That is
Yeah.
whatever you do, don't just sit there and feel sorry for yourself. We
Yeah.
want to change your story. I
Mm.
often say to people, what you've heard this, you cannot unhear it. You cannot unhear
Mm.
what we have said, right? So you
Yeah.
know the truth. So tonight or today, whatever time it is, remind yourself that you deserve better, and
Mm.
then speak to Catherine or another person that other organization. We can
Yeah.
drop a list of them down here actually,
Yeah.
and then seek for help. Do not believe yourself, and then from there on, you will have to decide what to do, from depending on the advice that you've been given.
Mm.
That is what I would advise someone straight off the bat, because again, situations are different. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could be, we know a lot of abusers, they don't change because it's about power and abuse, but we
Yeah.
also know
Yeah.
some who actually change when they realize, oh my God, I don't want to be this kind of a person.
Mm.
So not everything is lost, right?
Not everything is lost. That's true.
Not everything is lost. The most important thing is, don't sit there feeling sorry for yourself.
Mm.
Change your story.
Yeah.
10 years from now, do you want to look back and say, I'm glad I did something? Or do you want to find yourself in the same exact situation or worse, having harmed yourself some more, having harmed your children some more? Or look back with glee and say, it wasn't easy.
But I did
I
it.
did it.
Yeah. Thank God. Yeah. I want to add on to that. There's a mantra that I go by, and you know how you said, I like what you said, 10 years from now, do you want to look back? I always go, if I'm struggling with something that I would like to do, for example, you are one of my people who supported me during my studies. And I did my that's those studies. It was 4 years, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna start these studies at this certain age and go for 4 years. But there's a mantra I have: 4 years will still pass, whether I took the studies or not. So even if you're in this situation and you say like, I've been in this marriage for however long, do you want to continue? Think about it in this way. Do you want to continue another 10 years, like Angie says, still in the same situation? And now we are going to have a situation where we are looking like how Dr. Penny said to us, it took her 30 years to leave. But what she knows now, had she known then, she would have left. Or do you want to look back and say, 10 years ago, I was in a very difficult situation and I took the steps. They weren't easy, but I did it. And that way, we have a healthy family, like you're saying. It may not be like it was before, but it's a healthy family, like we are saying, Angela has said. And I would also like to add something, a reflection that a friend of mine and a colleague we had yesterday. You know her, Angie, when we did a show together, Amy, she was on the show. And
Yeah.
I asked her, Amy, knowing what you know now, what would you advise I talk about tomorrow? What would you like for me? What would you like to add on to? And she says, 10 years ago, or whenever she experienced the DA, like you keep saying, it's 2025 now. The support is there. It wasn't a thing then. Like you said, then people had to call Women's Aid. And you only called Women's Aid if you knew Women's Aid existed. And for her, what she said, one of the things she didn't know, this is a thing that I'm going through, is this a thing that I'm going through? But this is why we are raising the awareness, and we keep raising awareness. This is how a healthy relationship looks like. These are the red flags to look out for when you're not in a healthy relationship. But she also says that when someone is in an abusive relationship, they're in a bubble, like you have said as well, or explained, they're in a bubble. But you have to reach out. What people really need is a lifeline. You have to reach out, but you'll only get this lifeline if you reach out. If you keep staying in the bubble, then things are not going to change. And what is the lifeline? The lifeline are these resources that we're talking about: the National Domestic Abuse Line, cultural specific services like we have. You can reach out even to Angie. She has said she experienced domestic abuse a few years ago, and look at her now. She's a world-renowned psychologist, helping people, but also helping teenagers. Reach out to your friends. Do not be afraid to talk about and say somebody who will be supportive. You're not somebody who is going to tell everybody your business, and somebody who will be non-judgmental. And they don't even have to be your friend. Somebody who services also are helpful. So look out for that lifeline, look out for those services. And finally, Angie, as we come to the last question before we answer the two questions that we have and look at the poll, what people say is, finally, survivors watching who feel broken, what message do you have for them?
First of all, I must say it's not easy. And I want to say it's not a nice place to be. And your feeling broken is valid because someone has been breaking you. So don't feel weak for even saying you're feeling broken. And I must say to you, it is not your fault that happened. But here is what I also want to say in the same breath. It may not have been your fault what was done to you, but I want you to take it as your responsibility to heal.
Yep.
Because if we don't heal, we cannot be everything that we were meant to be. And I can tell you, woman, as you stand there, you have so much potential. You look what Tina Turner did after. Look who she became. She said, take everything. I don't want anything. Take everything. But let me be. And she went to do exploits. That's just one. I mean, the other day I was also reading on Mel B as well. And I mentioned these figures because their stories are online. You can Google it, right? But I want you to know that it's our responsibility to heal and to say, hey, the past has not been kind or nice to me, but I sure am grabbing, I am determining my future.
Yeah.
I'm going to make it exactly as how I want it to be. And we can't do that when we're still shackled. So we have to heal. And I think I mentioned earlier, I personally had to go for a lot of counseling, right? I can tell you I'm a strong woman. I'm a person that goes for what, I'm in no way weak person. But I had to go through a lot of counseling because I was experiencing, any of you that has been through that domestic abuse, you do get the post-traumatic stress.
Yeah.
Some of it becomes a disorder. Yeah. and you get a lot of illnesses actually that we call them psychosomatic. And I can tell you,
Yeah.
even on both a professional and also a personal basis, right? But you have to heal first. And healing is not a one-off something. Sometimes,
No.
sometimes now, right now, I can remember some of those things and laugh. But there's a time I couldn't laugh. I wasn't strong enough. It still
Yeah.
frightened me, right? So it's a journey. But as I think there's a proverb that says a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step.
That's true.
So you must be willing to say, whatever happens, I'm going to heal from this. I am changing the story. No longer feeling sorry for myself. I am changing this story.
Changing the narrative. Yes, that's true.
Completely.
Right. Let me add on something else. As like I said, I've worked with multiple women, and when they come in, and you can see the anxiety and the fear they're experiencing, which is normal, and the breakdown, and we hold their hands and we walk with them, and one of my joy, a blessing to me, is to meet with that lady in the streets of wherever I live, living her life. I actually normally say I have a few case studies, but one of them I actually she works for a certain organization, and we liaise together. Oh, I've got this client, this is what is going on. Please, can you help me with this person? And this individual that I keep talking about, or I have talked about, at one point, I used to know this is how was the routine. Monday to Friday, we're holding the hands together. Saturday, Sunday, I don't work. When I come back, we are back to square one. We are, at some point, this individual's like, can you please take me to the post office? I don't know what to do. But it's not because they don't know what to do, it's because of the anxiety. Or another individual, I'll say, very elderly lady, couldn't even make a phone call. But this she lives very well, very independent. And like I also said, my friend Amy, she's also here now. She works with survivors as well. So it is a journey, but and sometimes we're afraid of taking a journey that we don't know how it will end. But like Angie says, the journey of 1,000 steps, we start with one step. We start with one step. So Angie, as we come into the end, thank you for our audience. Thank you. We keep asking you, thanking you for being present, and thank you for sending us your questions. And the poll once again, what do you think is the biggest reason victims struggle to live? Please write in the comments. Is it fear? Is it shame? Is it family pressure? Or financial dependence? Angie, we have two questions. I remember I told you there was an individual who asked, not individual, John, who asked, what about those who are drawn to the drama? And you say they hold on to drama trauma. So do you want to quickly say something about that as we come to the end of our session?
Yes, that's an amazing question, because a lot of people, they keep gravitating towards those kind of people, or that is where it's like that is where they thrive in that. Yeah, in fact, some of them have so normalized it, they'll say it's like they're looking for, So
Yeah.
there is something called trauma bonding. And trauma bonding is where you develop a deep relationship with your trauma. You don't know anything else but instability. So that's how you thrive. These are the people you hear, they like, oh, bad boys, they'll get someone who's nice and quiet and kind. But because there's something that happens with abuse. Abuse interferes. Now we can go biological, but we won't go too much. In our brains, we have neurocircuits, right? And what happens is our brains are wired depending on what's happening. So it becomes our way of life, right? So trauma can wire your brain in such a way that unless you're experiencing that, it's like an addict. Unless so you actually become addicted to that. So
Yeah.
if it's not there, you feel unsettled. You feel like you're not yourself. And a lot of people
Mm.
search for it. And we know,
Mm.
this is where,
Mm.
and that's why
Mm.
sometimes even as men, like when they go to court and everything, oh, they're the ones that made me do this. So they, again, they can play the system like that because you
Yeah.
initiate, but it's because they're so used to that that becomes their way of life. So you're bonded, trauma bonded, and you feel like you're not alive unless that is happening. I have
Mm.
actually had women who used to say, if you're not being beaten, what
Yep.
are what are you? You know. So
Mm. Mm. Mm.
and it's something that can be healed when we come back to, is this a healthy relationship? Because that's not a normal
Mm.
response for who,
Mm.
who wants to be mistreated. A normal person doesn't want to be
Mm.
mistreated, right?
No.
We have this person who who is happy, we're not saying happy, who is comfortable with mistreatment, right? And that is why I called it trauma drama bonding, because that's how you come alive.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it is a negative response, but
Yeah.
still a response, right?
Mm.
It's a negative coping mechanism. The same way
Yeah.
someone,
Yeah. Yeah.
the same someone shoots drugs in themselves, even
Yeah.
though you know that but it gives you relief. It makes you come alive for
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
Do you see,
Yeah.
guys, what we're talking about? And we can go
Yeah.
deeper into how this happens. And it's not easy,
Yes.
but
Yeah. Yeah.
it can be changed. And it can be changed by, first of all, acknowledging that this is not healthy. But then
Yep.
what do I do? Speak to people, organizations like
Mm.
Catherine and like Catherine's organization, and then actually come to a point where you see this is not healthy.
Mm.
And
Mm. Mm.
we move on from there.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is let's gain self-awareness. Why do I have this pattern of getting in these relationships, unhealthy relationship? Am I now in a healthy relationship? And also take time to know yourself. Take time to know why do I do these things, Like we say, sometimes it's subconsciously and we are wired like that. So and also seek counseling.
Mhm.
Sometimes we think about counseling, people only go to counseling because there's something wrong with them. It is not something is wrong with you. Something is not right. Something is not working. And when you speak with a counselor, they help you gain self-awareness. They help you gain how comes you go through these patterns, through these cycles. There's quite a lot. So anyway, so the other question that John asked, we are here talking about domestic abuse. We are here talking about the issues. But what is being done to educate abusers? We are here educating the women and the survivors and the victims, if we can call them that. But what about the abusers? How do we get abusers involved?
The first thing is, first of all, they must acknowledge that what they're doing is not right. What they're doing,
Yep.
again, it comes back to healthy relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
they must remember when we were talking about the cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and how they justify, how do you get to a point that you justify uh pulling Catherine's hair until it comes out is okay? Where, where did you where did you think that was right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's actually them coming to a point and seeing this is not right. I don't want to be this
Mm.
kind of a person.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can be difficult because no one, it's the nature of human being to pose like we can do nothing wrong. We've not done anything wrong.
Mm.
That's why people
Mm.
defend themselves, even when the evidence is in their face. They will defend
Yeah,
them, right?
yeah,
Because we cannot lose face.
yeah.
But it's about, it takes, what I say, especially to men or even women who are abusers, I want you to think in terms of yourself as an influential leader. right?
Mm.
As an influential leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you influence people by being evil, by being nasty, or would you like to influence people by being an inspiring partner? How do you
Yeah.
want? And it's when they can see that, when they can see that as a partner, then they're willing to seek for help. We have a lot of programs for men, the perpetrator men and
Mm.
women. They're there, but it takes a lot of humility, a
Yeah.
lot
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
humility, but
Yeah.
which also is a leadership. It's a sign of leadership. A good leader, when we speak to men in these sessions, we remind them, you want to be a leader, right? You want to be a leader. It doesn't have to come by you using power and control. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be
Yeah.
like that. You can be an
Yeah.
inspiring leader. Yeah. A leader that listens, a leader that, oh, we want to hear more from you. It is
Mm.
possible to be a leader on both sides by using scarce
Mm.
tactics or by using safe ways that are inspiring. So it's up to them to
Mm.
choose which one do you want. And
Yeah.
the men that I know that have changed, because we have those programs, what we can do is actually we can drop some programs there as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
The men that have changed, or the women that were like that and have changed, are those people who were willing to learn a new way.
Yeah.
You still remain a leader, but you've learned new ways of leadership.
Yeah.
That is what it is. And we've got
Yeah.
amazing, I see a lot of amazing partners. It's so amazing actually to watch, right?
Mm.
Someone, generally men are conditioned to be tough, to be, you don't feel, you're not supposed to get
Mm.
your emotions, you're weak, you're under the thumb, all, again, that is all conditioning.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
isn't it admirable when you see someone taking that position of leadership in a way that inspires this woman? I want to listen to you. I want to come to you
Mm.
for advice. I know you're
Mm.
going to support me. I know when I fall,
Mm.
even when I make silly mistakes, not even silly, when I make, for example, I'll give an example. I'm very adventurous, yeah? Sometimes I fall, sometimes I, I make it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You,
Yeah.
you want this person that says to you, you go, I'm going to cheer you, right? You
Yeah.
go, cheer
Yeah.
you, right? For example,
Mm.
I can say that whilst you're doing this, your husband is cheering you, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
cheering you. He's saying, go for it, go for this, right?
Mm.
Go educate people, let them know that there is hope, right? You want that kind of
Mm.
a person.
Mm.
I'm sure there are other things you have said, I'm going to invest in this something and I'm going to do this. And then maybe you fall flat. And then he's like,
Yeah.
okay, now get up, and next time let's explore everything you should have done before you jumped into
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they have, these leaders have the ability to to cheer you, to champion you, right? Without
Mm.
feeling threatened as a person.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that is the point. We want, we want for these men and these perpetrators to come to. And it's such a
Yeah.
beautiful, I think it's such a beautiful union. It's such a beautiful, when I speak to young people and speak to them about those qualities, you
Mm.
can see them light up, because no one has ever told them that you can be a leader
Yeah.
by,
Yeah.
they're used to this thing of you back, people fall flat. You scared to speak.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that way, right? It
No,
can
you
be
don't.
a different way. You can be partners. And
Yes.
and partners doesn't mean every time it's 50-50. It could be a partner. I'm just sitting here listening, right? Next time I have nothing to. Next minute, I'm the one deciding this is gonna go there, this is gonna go there, and negotiation, there's communication.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and things
Yeah.
like and stuff like, I mean, especially when we think about our culture, there's we have life skills that have been genderized, right?
Yeah.
Like life skills. So you'll hear people saying, "Oh, I can't make myself a cup of coffee. That's a woman's job." Or I can't cook. That's a life skill. And the person who has a mouth and a tummy to eat, to be able to cook is a life skill.
Enhance. Enhance as
Yeah,
well. Enhance,
exactly. Enhance, right? So
Enhance as well,
exactly. But then you want to make your relationship so good that I actually want to do it for you as
Exactly.
you know, because I love you. I want to I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
treat you, I
Yeah.
want to treat you. And he wants to treat you. And and that's just the way I believe that's the way we can change, because there's so many life skills that are genderized. You hear, I can't clean, the woman's place is in the kitchen. And you hear such things, and the boys, the boys are feeling it's unfair, it's unfair, but anyway, we are here now.
Yeah. We are
Thankful.
here now. Let me just add one small thing, because before we finish and we take the poll, I remember when I was getting married very, very young, and let me give flowers to Reverend Gero, who was my dad's friend. He's a late Reverend Gero, and one of the things that he gave me was he framed some things. This is what you do, this is what you do, and this is how it should be. And one of the things he said is that always think of yourselves as a team. Do not compete with each other. Do not compete with each other. And I must say, this is something that I've employed in my relationship. And I also must give my Mr. Jenga his flowers as well for being a team. A team, we work as a team, which is quite so. When, like you said, when one is falling down or down, the other one is lifting you up, lifting them up. When when you're doing something, they support you. There's no competition. It's a healthy relationship, there is no competition. So, like, if you want to go back to, as we summarize, abuse, at the core of abuse is power and control. So if I have to be powerful in a relationship and I have to control the other person, then there's no way we are working as part of a team. So, and all those examples you've given about leadership and men being working on their leadership skills and leading families or relationship, it has to be part of, we are working together as a team. We are working together as a team. You're not chipping away my confidence. If you married me as a confident woman or a confident young girl, you're not chipping it so that you can feel powerful and you can control me. So thank you so much, Angie. Let's just finish with our audience. We asked them to take a poll, and the poll was let me find the poll. What was the poll? What do you think is the biggest reason victims struggle to live? So is it fear, shame, family pressure, financial dependence? So Gladys says fear, stigma of living. No, we already read that. TPC training says being dependent on the abuser. Nuru Balama says financial dependency. So Angie, maybe you'll write the poll and we'll see what people say. So TPC training says being dependent on the abuser. So that's dependency. Nuru Balama says financial. TPC says cutthroat shaming. Gladys says fear and guilt, and then guilt and shame. So it's quite varied. I don't think we have so, which is true, because it's all of it. It's never one thing, it's never one thing. It's all these things, it's never one thing. That it's everything. Like we
Everything.
said.
And also, it's
Yeah.
dependent on the person. It's dependent.
Yeah.
For me, it could be, for example, the example we talked about, a woman with immigration status, right? It could be,
Mm-hmm.
that she's got everything. She's got everything.
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
that immigration thing is the one that frightens her most. She can't leave, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then like Nuru said, financial, right? It could be that
Yeah.
one person said to you, oh, you don't need to work, or you don't need to do anything and all that. And that
Mm-hmm.
means, and if they're abusing you, when you look, you've got nothing, so you have to depend on them, right?
Yeah.
The other person said shame and guilt. It could be some people are even telling you, oh, in our family, there is that, in our family we don't divorce. In our family, we have 50-year-old marriages. So we've, in a
Yeah.
so that is pressure. It's pressure from the
Yeah.
family,
Yeah.
right? and
Yeah.
and, and it's fine. We really, really rejoice and celebrate people who have, I mean, I'm the first one there to celebrate people who've been together for many years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I always say, I want that. When I speak to the woman, I want her to say, I love it. I'm loving it today. Yeah. I'm
Mm-hmm.
loving it today. It is a healthy relationship. Not when I
Mm.
ask, when you ask some people, do you enjoy your relationship? They start telling you, oh, I have kids, or I have, deflecting. Oh, I have
Yeah.
kids, I've been married for 90 years. No, the question was, are you happy? And they cannot
Are you
answer that.
enjoying? Yeah.
Are you enjoying it? Right?
Are you
And
enjoying it? Yeah.
and that's the thing, and we're not saying that you have to enjoy every day, every day, every day. Remember, Catherine and I said it is about power and control. Are you with someone
Mm.
who is exerting power over you, stopping you
Yeah.
from fully expressing yourself?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that is when you know this is not healthy.
Mm-hmm. Right. So as we close, more comments. Nuru says, powerful talk indeed, ladies. Thank you for pouring your hearts into this service. You're both absolutely incredible. God bless. Thank you, Nuru, for joining us. Pastor Peter Motuma says, compliment and not compete. That's about what I was talking about, the working as a team. My auntie says, Gladys Karuge says, thank you, lovely ladies, for the amazing work you're doing. You're doing great talk. May God continue to strengthen you. We appreciate you, our audience. Thank you so much. So, Angela, thank you. Thank you. I cannot even thank you enough for your insights today. Your expertise is invaluable. And I really highly appreciate you being with us here and sitting with us, educating us, raising awareness. And I know this conversation will change lives. And thank you to our audience once again. If you found this conversation valuable, please share the video. You could save a life. You've seen we've talked about two ladies who we know. Not we know. Angela knows one who recently was life was taken away. My cousin was a friend to this lady. We were talking about it yesterday. Today, Marian. We also talked about the other lady who was shot in the pub.
Yeah.
So our audience, you could also follow Angela on Raising Remarkable Teens for resources and support. Please also follow us at Amani Women's Empowerment. We are on Instagram for survivor resources and support. I'll put our email below and Angela's website as well. And continue this conversation, raise awareness and save lives. Let's keep breaking the silence and standing with our survivors. Until the next time, stay safe and God bless. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.